Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman. We're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. John Riossi, American banker, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. A lot of SBA stuff you're going to be talking about. Lance is in the house. Lance, welcome.
It's good to be here, Bob.
As opposed to dealing with PPP files.
It's good to take a break from forgiveness for just a couple of moments.
Housekeeping. First of all, we understand GoToWebinar, GoToMeeting has had shortages. We've had issues with them the last couple of 24 hours in terms of getting our stuff uploaded and doing everything. So thank you for those of you who joined us. Yeah, our numbers are about half. So Michael, make sure that you record this and we put that in so people can access it. So sorry, I don't control the dashboard. But thank you all for trying to figure it out. Hey, number one, do you support a replenishment to the restaurant revitalization fund?
Bob, I do.
Only 2/3. That's interesting. What do you think, John?
I would have thought more did. I suspect that maybe the larger than expected amount of no's might be some of the bad taste left over,
right,
from how it was handled. So in theory, it seems like everyone would support replenishment of the Restaurant Revitalization Fund.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead, Lance.
I was talking to a multiple restaurant owner today. He had a good 2020. He's having a great 2021. And we were talking about the Restaurant Revitalization Fund program. And he's like, I don't care from my business perspective, but he said, I have friends in the industry that are just limping along, barely surviving, probably will not be here in 2022 unless something like this occurs. And so, I mean, his point is, yeah, okay, it went away. No impact to him. But to his friends and fellow restaurant owners, he said, yeah, it's just, he would tell me a story of a local restaurant that was going to get $482,000. And he said that was the difference between being strong and surviving or maybe not being here.
Oh, absolutely. I love the, go ahead and bring it up, Joseph. I love the name of the act, the ENTREE Act.
As opposed to the appetizer.
Yeah, the Entrepreneurs Need Timely Replenishment for Eating Establishments Act. Woo! We're paying congressional staff to come up with that. But all right, I'll give them credit. That's good. I like that. And what they're trying to do here, John, is they're simply trying to reallocate money that's unused and idle in other programs and put them in the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. No new authority is in there.
Interesting that they're talking about eliminating priority groups going forward. And I think that probably hits at some of the problems they had is uncomplicate the program.
Right.
Yeah, first come, first serve.
Right. Restaurant serve.
Yeah, we're just
this could get bad. So
the acronyms and the puns will be flying. Okay, so that's where it is. It's been introduced. John, do you have an opinion if it's going to go anywhere?
It's very difficult because, as Lance said, there's tremendous need. And as you look forward a little bit, in addition to looking back and seeing the people who have suffered great damage as a result of the pandemic up till now, we have the prospect of, at least in parts of the country, this resurfacing and
yes, absolutely
damage. So this is very timely, from both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, LA County, they're closing. I'm sorry, Lance. They're closing restaurants because of two reasons: COVID in the staff and no staff.
Well, and Bob, John makes an excellent point. The main problem with the restaurant revitalization program and the live venue is they were talked about and it took quite a while to implement. So by the time the problem was severe, they were just now getting up to speed. This proposal might get ahead of, if we continue the way we are, we may see restaurants going back to delivery and carry out only. We need this, and we actually might be ahead of the curve this time.
And again, I'm all in support of money going directly to Main Street entrepreneurs. It's different than it was 2008, 2009. We're bailing out the Fortune 500 companies. So there's always glitches, but I'm all for this stuff, Lance.
Well, I just want the implementation to be seamless this time.
Come on,
and money to actually get out. Yeah.
We're halfway through the summer.
We got a question on this, actually.
Do you feel a digital-only platform works for, oh, I'm sorry, we'll go to the question. How did they address the funding allocations between PPP and RRF since RRF was reduced by PPP amounts, Lance?
In the current bill, I have no idea. I think this bill is just focusing on reallocating money and getting the program back up and running. And if you were getting a restaurant revitalization fund grant, it was reduced by the amount of the PPP loan.
Yeah, Jim, I don't follow this that closely. I know Lance doesn't either because it's not a banking program. I do know reach out to your local SCORE, local SBDCs. They certainly have that information available. Number two, do you feel a digital-only platform works for banking models? John, you're writing about this. I will. My audience says no. What does your reporting say?
Well, I'm a little stunned by that, I have to say, because what we're reporting again and again and again ad infinitum, certainly for banks, probably for credit unions as well, is a big shift to digital. There are exceptions, but banks looking to trim the number of branches. Trim is being perhaps a little bit conservative, and put money in this. And then other banks coming on, a number of them saying we're going to be digital only. And I'll give you a good example of that is you were good enough to include it here in the show to mention is the story we just wrote about Cambridge Savings Bank, 187-year-old mutual savings bank, headquartered in Cambridge, Mass. So it's got a link to Harvard, at least proximity to Harvard, but I just mentioned that they're in no way connected with Harvard. And they've now started a digital-only bank that's going to be sort of a deposit platform initially, but they hope to grow it. What KeyBank is doing with Laurel Road, that is they launched that. I forget, they launched it on National Doctors Day, but I can't remember what day National Doctors Day is. But it's aimed at medical professionals, so hence the link. So the industry is moving in that way, but the people who work in the industry don't seem to think it's going all that well. That's a very interesting result to me.
Well, Bob, the other thing is
Lance, let John define digital.
Oh,
and then
okay.
Go ahead, define digital.
Well, I just mean, branchless, I guess, is one way to do it.
Sure.
But totally online, whether it be for your phone, your laptop.
Computer. Okay. Go ahead, Lance.
Well, I was just going to say the PPP loan program probably elevated digital platforms. I mean,
That's right.
every bank's using, a digital platform to some extent, but they all dove in pretty heavily with, or many of them dove in heavily with PPP, so it probably elevated. Now, an old gray-headed guy like me still likes a branch, but if you ask my children, digital banking is probably what they're most accustomed to, and I think the new generation that's coming through embraces digital banking.
Oh,
Can I ask you a quick question, Lance? For your own self, your personal, business, be it banking or whatever, have you used chat yet? Any type of chat to sort of handle whatever issue you have, be it a banking issue or anything else?
Well, that's not a fair question, John, because up until recently, I worked in bank branches and was able, my chat consisted of walking across the bank lobby and saying, hey, can you fix this for me? So
I was thinking, like, if you if you use that digital chat as opposed to calling up a personal or any issue, customer issue.
Now, I have used digital chat in a number of circumstances with places I buy things, with loans that I have where I just am seeking quick answer to questions. So yes, in other platforms I have.
Okay.
But I agree that the number crunchers are looking at these branches are expensive, John. They're staffed. You got to pay electricity. You got to.
This tells me about my banking. I still use a checkbook register.
What? I'm sorry, Lance. What's a checkbook?
That's a good question.
No, nothing. Talk to us about volume, John. We talked about it yesterday with the large four, and we're trying to get answers to specifically how's SBA affecting community bank, credit unions, bottom line, non-bank lenders. What are you seeing?
Well, right now, what I'm seeing is those lenders, credit unions, banks that are involved in a big way, call it a line of business, that do significant SBA business, are enjoying reporting some very, very good results. I'll talk about two that I was looking at today. One, Cadence Bank in Houston. I'm going to talk to them later, so I don't know if this is a record, but it seems like it. I did not go back quarter by quarter all the way through their history. They were, but they reported SBA income quarterly, $5.8 million today, significantly above the first quarter of the year, and colossally above the second quarter of last year, but obviously that has to be adjusted for PPP. A year ago, they were at 1.3 million in revenue. Today, they're at 5.8 million, almost 10 million for the 2 quarters. So big numbers for them. Hope Bancorp, they are reporting significant increase in loan sales, PPP loan sales, so that falls into non-interest income. They're talking about the very good premiums they're getting right now, which I suspect, and they were actually asked, how long can that be sustained, the levels of the premium levels, but also their volume numbers are up. And if you look, we talked about this the last time I was on the show, but the program, SBA 7A, the volumes is once again in record territory, and the gap between this year, and I always go back to 2018, the last record year, the current record, is now over 7%. So 2021 is running 7% plus above 2018, and that's the record year. And the numbers, it's just slightly below $21 billion through 16 July. So halfway through July, they're at $21 billion. 504, just, sort of off the charts. So, I mean, combined, I think they are at something close to $28 billion if you combine the two.
Which are just, they're phenomenal numbers.
Right.
And
that obviously is being reflected on the banks and credit unions' bottom line.
Yeah. And banks now, SBA is now mainstream. I think a lot of the bad, negative, pejorative issues of it are gone. Most lenders had a positive experience through PPP and through all the technology and the paperwork on this, Lance. So I think you're going to see nothing but growth in this industry.
Well, another thing that we forget about, PPP introduced a lot of new banks to SBA. And it was like, hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. There are a lot of new banks that got involved in SBA lending as a result of PPP. And many of them look at it and say, hey, you know, we should do, either there are banks that were already had a 750 agreement and, you know, was doing very little SBA lending and got into PPP, and now they're doing more. But there's some new institutions that
well, John mentioned the secondary market, strong premiums. For what it's worth, John, we think that they're going to be fine until the 90% goes away. Then it'll come back down to earth a little bit more in 2022. Any news on 504 refinance, guys?
Again, Bob, I heard from somebody at headquarters.
That's why I'm looking at you.
I heard that it was done and that it would be released soon. Now, I anticipated soon meaning a week or two, but sometimes soon. And I think some of the things, the new direct forgiveness platform and dealing with guaranteed purchase may have kind of slowed the process down, but those are now being announced and will soon be implemented. So we should see it. Bob, I'm not even going to pick a date because I'll be wrong.
I know, that's why I love to watch you squirm. So
I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, and this isn't a bad conspiracy, but I wonder, given the volume that they're seeing at 504 and 7A, and you know, the fact that they do have a ceiling for fiscal 2021, if maybe they're just holding off because, you know, the thought would be that might be adding fuel to the fire.
That's not a conspiracy. That's that's reasonable type of response to what's happening. Look, we're getting within now, 2.5 months at the end of the quarter. So we'll see what happens. Hey, I want to throw out some stats real quick before we leave. Let's go through business openings. Joseph, we had quartered over 60,000 businesses reopened, which was good. Applications for new businesses increased. So that stat supports the economy is rocking and rolling. John, I should know this. What are we at? What are we running at right now? What are we at? 4%? What are we running?
Oh, economic growth?
Yeah.
I think it's above that, and I think it will be closer. What I saw, what sticks in my mind is about 6%.
Oh, that much? Okay.
For 2021, but it's you know, it's an unusual year. So
yeah, that it is an unusual year, but it's better. It's that's nice to see. And consumer demand.
In the stats, what I had heard yesterday, I was talking to someone who does market research, and they said that also startups are at record levels. So
right.
That's probably reflected in that as well.
Well, and it's based on the next slide, consumer demand. States with the highest percentage of vaccinated population have the highest increase in demand. 25%. Interesting, then in the 10 states with the, go to the next slide, Joseph, for the consumer demand. The states with the lowest vax numbers have the lowest decrease. We're trying to, there you go. That's, which is an interesting stat. I have no idea what that means. So there is, need to keep things in perspective. Growth is rocking and rolling. I will get that correct number. And we are new businesses, lending's at all-time highs. So there's a lot of positives in where we are in July 2021. And I'll wrap it up with that. John?
Now, Bob, I got one final comment. Had dinner with a longtime entrepreneur, 30 years in business, and supply chain is the biggest concern that he has.
And who would have thought? Who would have thought that supply chain would have been a number one concern of businesses?
He said he cannot. He said right now he has orders placed through 2023, just hoping they will come in.
What type of industry?
Furniture.
Furniture.
Yeah.
John, last word on this one?
No, I agree with Lance. It just, certain commodities are hard to get, and they're messing with the overall economy. That's not a good way to put it, but they're headwinds, I guess, might be a better way.
There's always headwinds, but things are looking good. Hey, thanks all for joining us. Thank you for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Have a great day.